I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and we gonna go full crazy.
We're going crazy.
Crazy.
When Sean Diddy Combs' properties were raided in March of 2024, there was a lot of speculation about what might be found inside and whether it would be connected to any of his celebrity friends and acquaintances. As Homeland Security agents poured out of his mansions in LA and Miami with boxes full of electronics, there were rumors that if Combs filmed his elaborate sex performances called freak-offs or other parties, there could be video evidence of possible criminal activity. And the celebrity at the center of a lot of rumors, warranted or not, was Justin Bieber. But now, during week 1 of Combs' criminal trial, the singer has officially responded to allegations that Combs may have abused him as he was coming up in the music industry.
The courtroom fell into a chilling silence the moment Justin Bieber entered and took the stand. Not a single murmur echoed through the room. The cameras pointed, the pens stopped scribbling, and all eyes were locked on the pop icon. For years, the rumors had been swirling, but now one of the biggest names in entertainment was about to speak under oath. What was once considered hearsay was about to become public record, and the moment was electric. Diddy sat frozen, locked in his chair, his jaw tight, hands clasped, eyes unblinking. Justin took a breath. He looked over at the jury, then at the judge, then back at the audience filled with reporters, victims, and the curious public.
And many people are wondering whether other celebrities were a part of these freak-offs, and worse, is it possible that some people, maybe other celebrities, were actually victimized? We don't know at this point, but what we do know is that videos of Sean Combs and Justin Bieber have been all over X and TikTok for days. Specifically this one when Bieber was 15.
As soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come to LA. Yeah, this gonna be yours. So every time you come to LA, it's a little dusty, but you know, come get the front shot of this.
Man.
Minute.
Woo. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna be driving this next year.
Now, that video has been viewed more than 5 million times on Justin Bieber's YouTube channel. He was 15 at the time, and he was staying with Combs for 48 hours.
You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know, he did his first album. I did Usher's first album.
Justin Bieber is now a pop megastar. He's loved by fans around the world. In 2009, at the time of this video, though, he wasn't really known. He was just a kid, and his first album was coming out. Bieber is originally from Canada, and Usher signed him to manage his career. Usher actually got his start in the business through Sean Combs. He lived with him for a year when he was 13, and Usher talked about his time living with Combs on The Howard Stern Show back in 2016. He was sent to what was called Puffy Flavor Camp.
And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
in the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
And then he began. His voice was calm, steady, but there was pain in every word. He said the truth had been gnawing at him for years. He said he had seen things no young person should ever see. He said that what people thought were glamorous, wild parties were, in reality, carefully orchestrated nightmares, something much darker than anyone imagined. He described the infamous freak-offs. He said they were more than just adult gatherings. They were psychological games, manipulation, control. He recalled one of the first times he was brought into that world.
Now, when asked if he would send his kids to live with Sean Combs, Usher said, hell no. But back to Justin Bieber and the videos of him making the rounds with Combs. The one from when he was 15 has raised some eyebrows, given what we know now.
Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. What you want to do? What you want to do over the next 48 hours?
48 hours. Let's go. Let's just go get some girls. Let's go hang out with some girls.
A man after my heart. That's what I'm talking about.
Now, let's be clear. This could have all just been a joke. But in 2020, Justin Bieber gave a tearful interview to Apple Music in which he talked about wanting to protect Billie Eilish from the music industry and the things that he had been through. There are other videos of Bieber and Combs that have circulated online.
What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you
All right,
doing?
young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything?
man.
Starting to act different, huh?
No,
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Correct.
My
Okay.
number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
Again, does this video mean anything? It could just be a teenage kid caught in an awkward moment. In 2015, Combs presented Bieber with an American Music Award for Best Collaboration. And there's another video showing a birthday celebration. It shows an exchange on one of Bieber's birthdays. And finally, the fourth video making the rounds was recorded 3 years ago. Let's play that again. Some speculated that Combs was looking to see whether Bieber was wearing a wire when he patted him down. It seemed a little awkward for sure. Around this time last year, Combs and Bieber collaborated on the song Moments for Diddy's The Love album, Off the Grid. This was, of course, before the first allegations made by Cassie Ventura surfaced.
He was barely 19. Diddy had invited him to what he called an exclusive gathering. Justin was flattered, excited even. But the moment he arrived, he knew something was off. He described penthouses with blacked-out windows, cell phones confiscated at the door, armed guards posted outside. Everyone was given instructions, some subtle, some explicit. Speak only when spoken to. Do what you're told. Don't ask questions. And above all, never, ever talk about what you see. Justin said he thought it was all a joke at first. But within minutes, he realized it wasn't. He described being led into a room with dim lighting, strange music, and people positioned around the room like pieces on a chessboard. Some were fully dressed, others were not. He said Diddy walked in like a general inspecting his soldiers, making eye contact with everyone, deciding who would do what. It was methodical, cold, calculated.
So far, Justin Bieber, like many people who know Combs, has been silent. There may be a good reason for that. He just became a father for the first time. A source close to Bieber told People he's aware of Diddy's arrest and the allegations, but added, it's not anything that he wants to focus on, though. The insider, likely Bieber's publicist, continued, saying Bieber's been in a happy bubble since baby Jack was born, and he just wants to focus on being a great dad and husband. That is also completely understandable. Justin Bieber's a first-time father. He should want to enjoy this time and cherish every moment of it. But that hasn't stopped the chatter. This TikTok video from Bieber's father-in-law, actor Stephen Baldwin, has just added to the speculation about Diddy and Bieber.
You have heard the expression, the calm before the storm. There is always a calm before the storm, but then so is there another calm after the storm. There's a calm and then a storm and then another calm.
So you get the gist. And no one knows whether Stephen Baldwin was actually referring to the Sean Combs situation or his son-in-law Justin Bieber, but that video certainly has had people on X wondering. I want to bring in Mitra Ahorian. She is an entertainment attorney in Los Angeles. So Mitra, what are people saying out there on the street? What's the chatter in Hollywood about Sean Combs' arrest?
I think the chatter is some of what we're already hearing in the news, except that there are actual people who were at these parties who have interacted with him. Puffy was one of the, and is, we can say is, one of the most influential artists and producers in the hip hop world. We all grew up listening to his music. He's been, responsible for bringing a lot of artists, developing a lot of other artists. And so he was so tied into the celebrity world for such a long time that, of course, everyone sort of interacted with him, right? The level of interaction is sort of what's going to vary. So in terms of the chatter that's going around, everyone, I think, is just thinking, oh, wow, like I've spent time with this person, or I've worked with this person, and they may not necessarily have known what was going on behind closed doors or the extent of it. So I think the chatter is really more about, wow, we didn't know this level of perversion, dare I say.
Justin said he remembered seeing women looking terrified. Assistants, barely older than teens, shaking as they obeyed commands. He said one woman caught his eye, her mascara running, her lip trembling, and in that moment, he knew she didn't want to be there. She mouthed the word, help. He tried to leave. He said he told Diddy something didn't feel right, that he needed to go. But Diddy put a hand on his shoulder and said, "This is the real Hollywood, kid. Get used to it." And then he laughed. That laugh haunted Justin for years. He said that same night he saw someone get slapped when they hesitated. He heard screaming behind a closed door. And the worst part? Everyone else acted like it was normal, like it was expected, like it was just another Friday night. Justin said he left that night feeling sick to his stomach. He said he vomited when he got back to his hotel.
So there's a distinction in Hollywood between going to a Diddy party and a freak off, because the freak offs are what the U.S. attorney says were illegal. So you're saying, it sounds like, that people are saying, well, I went to a party, maybe a white party or some other type of Diddy party, but I didn't go to a freak off.
Yeah, I think, definitely people are going to be wanting to distance themselves from the freak offs, right? So this weird phrase that he came up with, and sort of the things that are coming out about what allegedly took place at these sort of orchestrated orgies with, minors and sex workers, and, the kind of things that I think a lot of people who are, who maybe didn't participate in that aspect of it are very shocked at. And so there is absolutely a distancing, and it's not just, parties, right? Though celebrities had actual friendships with Diddy, right? They spent time together outside of going to parties with going to parties at his house or anything like that. And they might have even partied with him just in the context of just, normally, what we think of normal partying, so to speak. But, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they participated in what sounds like a very specific, a set of activities that absolutely would rise to the level of criminal allegations that we're seeing now.
Let's talk about Justin Bieber. I mean, I can't go on Twitter or TikTok or any of these social media platforms, it seems like, without seeing a video of Justin Bieber or Usher with Sean Combs. I mean, Sean Combs, as you mentioned, is one of the most influential producers in rap music and hip hop. He mentored Usher. Usher lived with him for a year when he was 13, and Usher kind of has said, I saw some stuff while I was there. He didn't really go into much more detail, but there's this whole thing about Justin Bieber, and people are speculating and wondering if anything untoward happened there.
He cried in the shower, and then he buried it. His team told him not to say a word, that going against someone like Diddy would be suicide, that his career would be over. So he stayed quiet, but the guilt never left. He said the freak-offs were not rare. They happened often. Different locations, different setups, but always the same structure. Control, fear, silence. And Diddy was always at the center. He described how assistants were handpicked, coached, and then used. How cameras were hidden in mirrors. How Diddy kept tapes, names, records. Everything was archived. He said people were paid to forget, to disappear, to never speak again. But some didn't forget. Some couldn't. Justin said he heard from one assistant years later, someone he had seen during one of those nights, someone who had been deeply affected. She told him what happened to her. She said she was beaten, that she was drugged, that she was told if she ever spoke, her family would be at risk. He broke down on the stand recounting her words. He said he could never unhear them, that he felt responsible for not speaking up, that the weight of his silence became unbearable. He also named other witnesses.
Justin Bieber, a victim of his alleged predatory and inappropriate behavior. Well, I'll tell you what, now, as week one of Combs' sex trafficking and racketeering trial comes to a close, Justin Bieber's camp is finally responding. So his representatives told TMZ, quote, although Justin is not among Sean Combs' victims, there are individuals who were genuinely harmed by him. Shifting focus away from this reality detracts from the justice these victims rightfully deserve. So to talk about this, I want to bring back on former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani. Nima, so good to see you. Thanks so much for coming here on Sidebar. I want to talk about the timing of this statement from Justin Bieber's camp. This can't be just a coincidence.
No, it can't be, because one of the biggest questions in the Diddy trial is what other celebrities will be named, who participated in the freak-offs and who witnessed the freak-offs. I mean, Diddy's white parties are infamous. And one of the victims that people have been talking about for about a year and a half now has been Justin Bieber. And now finally, after week one of trial, when we know that Don Richard is the next witness and we're going to start hearing who the government thinks is going to help corroborate their case, we are not going to hear from Justin Bieber. And it really goes back to a video when he was about 15 years old, when Combs said he was going to spend 48 hours with Justin Bieber. And that's when all the speculation began. Bieber's camp didn't say anything until now, but I think it's important that he did. And he also, like many celebrities in Hollywood, want to stay as far away from the Diddy trial as possible.
Because you think that there was talk of him testifying and he didn't, he wanted to shut that down.
I think so. I think people want to know, because look, the trial's lasting 2 months, right? 8 weeks, maybe even 10 weeks. And I know Judge Subramanian is trying to move it along as quickly as he can, but
Other celebrities who had been present. He said some were also victims. Others were just complicit. But he said the entire machine was built around Diddy. He said Diddy had the power to make or break careers, and he used that power to silence people. The courtroom was stunned. The judge had to call for a short recess as the gravity of Justin's testimony settled into the room. Diddy was visibly rattled. His lawyers scrambled, flipping through notes, whispering urgently. But there was no undoing what had just been said. When the trial resumed, Justin continued. He gave more specific details. He described a room with red walls and velvet curtains where some of the worst events happened. He said he once saw a young woman being dragged into that room screaming. He tried to stop it, but 2 of Diddy's bodyguards blocked him, told him it was none of his business. He said that after that night, he vowed never to attend another freak-off. But the memories stayed. The nightmares, the shame. He said he even tried therapy.
Now that Cassie Ventura is wrapping up her testimony, we know that we're going to hear from a couple other victims. But the government needs to fill that time. And what they want to do is put on victims that really aren't in a romantic relationship and never have been with Combs, right? Cassie got impeached with some of that, the emails, the text messages, the words that she put, those words of affirmation. So to the extent that there are other victims, that's how the government's going to be able to overwhelm the defense here. And if it's a celebrity victim, even better.
See, here's the thing. I think about it, and I'm sure he didn't want to, I guess the idea is, not distract from the conversation that's being had. But to make a statement towards the end of the week, after opening statements, or towards the conclusion of Cassandra Ventura's testimony, when he makes a statement confirming that there were people harmed by Combs, does that signify to you that he believes the prosecution's case, or does he think it's beyond the criminal case and based on the accusations we've seen in the civil arena?
I think it's probably the former. And like you said, the key part of that statement was denying that he was a victim, but really talking about the other victims. And it wasn't alleged victims. He said other victims, well, through his spokesperson. So I think that is very, very important. This isn't a Michael Jackson type case where, celebrities are rushing to Combs' defense. Very few people are. And the fact that you have someone come out that really isn't 50 Cent or someone who, is trying to make light of it, or a documentary about it, and really point the finger at Diddy, that's a big deal, Jesse.
Mm-hmm. And he mentioned harmed by him, right? It was very specific language. They were genuinely harmed by him, and the shifting focus away from this reality distracts from the justice these victims rightfully deserve. There's no way to parse that language.
There isn't, and the defense is obviously trying to separate physical harm from sex trafficking and sexual assault, but the average person who's watching isn't going to be making that distinction. That may matter in the case, but it's not going to matter.
Tried to drown it in work, in music, in faith. But nothing worked. Not until he told the truth. He ended his testimony by saying that he didn't care about the consequences anymore, that he knew the cost of silence, that he would rather lose everything than let this cycle continue, and that if even one victim found justice because of his voice, then it was all worth it. The courtroom gave him a standing ovation. Unprecedented. The judge banged the gavel to restore order, but even he looked shaken. Outside, the world exploded. News outlets around the globe picked up the story. Hashtags flooded social media. Celebrities began releasing statements, some in support, others scrambling to deny involvement. But the damage was done. Legal analysts called Justin's testimony a seismic shift in the trial. That his first-hand experience, his credibility, and his reach made it nearly impossible for Diddy to spin the narrative any longer. That now, the floodgates were open. Former assistants started contacting lawyers. Victims who had stayed silent for years were now ready to speak. The DA's office hinted that new charges could be filed. The media began uncovering old footage, old photos, piecing together the puzzle. And Diddy? Once the titan of the music industry, now sat in the defendant's chair, reduced to silence, haunted by the ghosts of the past he thought would never surface. The trial is far from over, but the tone has changed. The air around Diddy is no longer one of power, but of reckoning. Of justice catching up. Of masks being ripped off. And Justin Bieber, once a boy caught in the glitz of fame, may have just become the voice that brought a monster down. And the world is watching.